Hello everybody and welcome back to Gentoo.
We're your favorite place for all things gaming and tech related.
I'm your host, Cade Jadwick.
And I'm your other host, Evan Saxton.
And we've got games for you.
Oh, and tech news.
Yeah, let's do it. Have you ever wanted to start your own cult, worship ancient eldritch gods and the boons that they bring? Then I have the perfect game for you. Worshippers of Cthulhu is a new city-building game where you take on the role of a cult leader, tasked with bringing the elder god Cthulhu back to this mortal realm. Lead your cult and have your followers toil, conquer, or devote their lives to dark rituals. Guide your followers in awakening your dark god to bring about a new transcendence for humanity. Your lives are short and insignificant. Only through devotion and service to Cthulhu can you expand your hold to gather new resources, manage production chains, navigate perilous ruins, and occupy valuable space. Get Worshippers of Cthulhu on Steam when it releases on October 21st.
Dive into the depths of Sulfur in this first-person shooter filled with deadly, brutal combat and choices that will affect your adventure. Mix and match your weapons and attachments to create ever-evolving builds. Make sure to plan ahead to outsmart dark enemies while you collect valuable loot and discover ancient treasures. On your adventure, you encounter strange creatures in unexpected places. Pay attention to their warnings. Whether they despise you, admire you, or ignore you, your every path is yours to forge. Every decision counts. The equipment you bring with you may be lost if you fail, and the equipment left behind won't be there later to recover. Survive the world of Sulfur when it releases on Steam on October 28th.
Now on to our tech news.
SpaceX has made history with their Starship rocket test.
On October 13th, SpaceX launched their 400-foot Starship booster rocket from their launch facility near the southern tip of Texas.
This was the 5th test in the series of Starship boosters, with the previous 4 failing either by blowing up or ditching into the ocean.
This test made history though, as the unloaded rocket successfully launched and detached its payload, then successfully returned 7 minutes later, being caught by a massive tower labeled the Chopsticks.
This marks history. A booster rocket of this size and magnitude has never not blown up or lost control and ditched into the ocean. This marks a major event in spaceflight technology.
Being able to reuse these booster rockets allows space programs to design and build these rockets, launch them, and reuse them to transfer more payloads. This cuts down on costs by an insane amount.
Just one of these rockets cost around $70 million to launch, and being able to build it once more, and now just the cost of refueling instead of being completely rebuilt to carry another payload.
We are all excited to see how this massive advance in spaceflight technology will help us get back to the moon and beyond.
And that just about does it for news this week.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to not miss any future Gentoo episodes.
We're gonna have a crazy episode when we finally land on Mars.
You're gonna be hosting for that long?
I'm going to be hosting this show forever.
Well, that wasn't creepy at all. But you know who else isn't creepy? Corby's Content Corner.
Oh yeah, I like that guy.
Welcome back to Corby's Content Corner, the show where I talk about games I'm passionate about. Now, last episode I talked about my 2 favorite Call of Duty games and why they are praised. But what about the other side of the multiplayer mainstream shooter world? The main competitor to Call of Duty? Battlefield. But more specifically, Battlefield 1. On August 30th, 2016, EA and DICE released Battlefield 1, a game that, despite what its title might tell you, is actually the 10th game in the franchise. This series is known for its large player lobbies and destructive open map environments. The primary gameplay is focused on 2 teams of 32 players, who have to fight their way to a win on large maps that take place during World War I. Everyone chooses what role they want to serve for the team and is set off to fight for the objective. Whether it is fighting for points or getting more kills than the other team, everyone must work together to make it happen. You can be a sniper posted up waiting for the perfect shot, a man operating a tank with your crew, a dogfighting pilot in the sky, or even a soldier charging a horse into combat. Whatever you choose to do, you can do it. As a Call of Duty fan, it pains me to say this, but Battlefield does one thing so much better than Call of Duty. The matches feel so much more engaging and immersive. While Call of Duty is mainly focused on 6v6 player combat, Battlefield has 64 players playing at the same time. This means there are many more battles and gunfights and just utter chaos going on around you to create such an intense and immersive experience. In a Call of Duty match, you probably face the same players 10 times each. But in Battlefield, you can go an entire game without killing a handful of players from the other team. But you probably cross paths a time or two in the heat of battle. It could have been dodging each other's gunfire, zooming past each other in a dogfight, or even blowing up in the same explosion. And with the theme being set in World War I feel that makes this game even more immersive. Because even though we're fighting over some silly little objective, you feel like you're actually a part of a war. Every moment in this game is full of intense battles and action through and through. It's like it was specifically made to create gameplay trailers and real-time cutscenes for every player. It's just so cinematic. So in conclusion, Battlefield 1 is an awesome game. It earned itself a 9 out of 10 rating on Steam and was even nominated for the Best Action Game of the 2016 Game Awards. Now, if you're interested, feel free to give it a try. The servers are still pretty active. The only thing I think would make it better would be, oh, I don't know, a zombies mode or something. What the? What just happened? What? No! You can't be serious! But I don't even have a weapon. What is going on?
Okay, Logan, I've got something serious to say here. JOJO'S is better than Persona.
What? No, Persona is way better than JoJo's.
No, you're just wrong. JOJO'S is like top peak.
Bro, Persona literally, it's the best thing ever.
Oh, okay, you think that? Well then let's fight it out then.
All right, Star Platinum, Persona! Welcome back to Storylines, the show where I talk about how one character within the game isn't just a faceless, non-playable character or NPC, but an important story device to the world and player. Let's dive into the storylines of this NPC in Persona 5 Royal. To begin, the game is about a group of kids with powers going in the mental cognition of people and stealing their desires to change their heart. Today, I will focus on the character Makoto Nijima. Makoto is a very studious character and close friend for the main character, Ren Amamiya. She's the definition of a perfect student, but Makoto is someone many can relate to as she struggles with living up to expectations that adults and society have placed upon her. Because of this, she is easy to be told what to do, struggles to live a life she wants, and not face persecution from the adults around her. At the start of her story, Makoto is tasked with stalking the main character and his friends under suspicion the principal had. This is already a red flag, but Makoto goes along with it in thinking of doing justice for the school. Her state of doing everything she's told is further emphasized when she encounters a mafia boss. When they go to fight him, he threatens to further extort Makoto and says how he'll use her for his ways. He even goes further to say for her to do as she's told and that she'll endure it. Her feelings finally snap and she stands up for herself as she denounces him and awakens to her new self, finally pushing past the feeling of being told what to do.
I've been listening to you go on and on. Shut your damn mouth, you money-grubbing.
Another major block for her would be her own sister, Sai. They've had an iffy relationship due to their father's passing. This unfortunately forced Sai to provide for Makoto, as she was made head of the house. Because of her attitude shift, she demanded Makoto to mature and grow up and focus on school instead, and placed immense expectations upon her that Makoto feels very stressed to reach. What gets worse is when Sai snaps at her baby sister and goes as far as to call her useless when she doesn't even realize their predicament and forces her to take the brunt of her own anger.
He died upholding some lofty sense of righteousness, leaving all his responsibilities on us. All I was trying to say was... Isn't it about time you grew up and acknowledged our situation? Right now, you're useless to me. All you do is eat away at my life.
By the end of her story, she has finally come into her own and learned to stand up for herself. Not only has she found her sense of justice, but her journey to become who she was now really makes her stand out. She understands the importance of being able to accept herself, standing up for herself, and finding her own sense of justice and truth. Her path to this point was rocky, with the mafia boss being a hurdle, being a tool to the principal at school, and dealing with her sister's expectations. Finally, when she clears these hurdles, she becomes a shining star of who she really is. She devotes her life to her studies and to become a police commander commissioner, referring to her own sense of justice to help the innocent, as she was before in the past. And that brings us to a close on this storyline today. Join me next week for an NPC from Yakuza Like a Dragon. This is your host, Logan Hill, signing off.
Here at Tower Yearbook, we are a dedicated staff of photographers, designers, copywriters, and practicum students.
Our staff is a student-led, student-run media outlet, producing a book with over 300 pages. Here to pop out at any of our portrait or distribution events.
So stay tuned to our social media to see what's up.
Creative Services has been lurking in the shadows of student media, giving insight into the hard work behind every mass media student's contribution. We are creating national award-winning commercials promoting KNWT. We animate, navigate, and collaborate to display all of the unseen corners of our media outlets. Our mission is dedicated to showing off KNWT and our great work like never before.
Wait, you really expect me to watch Aaron's reality?
No, I expect you to die.
Put on these glasses, and you'll enter the world of the game.
Hello everybody and welcome to my reality. My name is Aaron and welcome to Aaron's Reality, the only show on Gentoo that has a guy with 20/20 vision putting his eyeballs directly next to two screens. You know, this is a pretty tough gig. VR can really take a lot out of someone. Actually, if you're not fully prepared for the task, well...
I expect you to die.
This action puzzle game launched back in December 2016 and later released not one, but two sequels. Pulling clear inspiration from the 007 franchise, you were a spy with the quote-unquote agency, tasked with foiling the plans of the evil Dr. Zor. The main story consists of 4 operations. Friendly Skies has you getting a car out of a flying plane, Squeaky Clean has you attempting to neutralize a neurotoxin, Deep Dive has you escaping a sunken escape pod, and Winter Break has you finding a secret machine in Zor's lodge. Being a puzzle game, each level has its own rules to complete the level. Due to the limited movement space, most VR games have a levitate ability. But I Expect You to Die stands out by giving a lore reason for this. You have been implanted with a telekinesis chip that allows you to levitate objects or freeze them in place. Sometimes an object accidentally falls out of view, so if that happens, they are given a blue texture that can be seen through anything, so you can grab with your telekinesis. On top of the story, there are special objectives in each level to encourage replayability. Thinking like that shows care, so this is going to get a level of detail of 8 out of 10. The story is framed around you being a spy who's put into impossible missions and, well, expected to die. Just when you think you got the solution, there's something new and it's game over, so it kinda pulls you out when that happens. But being surrounded by so many spy tropes makes you feel like a true secret agent, so immersion is going to be a 7 out of 10. Upon launching the game, you're told to take a seat and get comfortable. Every level has your character sitting in a chair, with objects either in arm's reach or grabbable with your telekinesis. You're not meant to walk around at all. I played the entirety of the main game in one session with 0 repercussions. For the first time in this show, Motion Sickness earns a 10 out of 10. The style of this game ranges from serious James Bond to silly Austin Powers. You can foil a villainous plot while puffing on a cigar, MacGyver a grenade back together with a fire extinguisher, or even blow up dynamite on a plane. This game is certainly unique. In fact, I have never played a game that has an opening credit sequence quite like here. Vibes earn a fantastic 9 out of 10. Overall, the score is going to come to an 8.5 out of 10 for the second highest score. I Expect You to Die is such a wonderful game. It was actually one of the first VR titles that I purchased. The replayability makes it just that much more entertaining, considering so many VR games will have you spending $20+ for a one-time use. If you want to purchase this game, or either of its sequels, you can purchase it on PC, Quest, or PSVR. That's all for this video, and unless I die, I'll see you in the next one.
Dude, I've been playing so much Sparking Zero recently. I haven't even showered and my memory's been kind of fading, so.
Well, I mean, as long as you don't forget to play Dragon Ball Revenge of King Piccolo, you'll be good.
Oh, dude, I like that game.
Hello, I'm Tayden Hensley, and welcome back to Forgotten Games. With the recent release of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, it made me think about other Dragon Ball games, as there has been so many in the past 30 plus years. Some good, some great, and some that are really bad. Like, what even is this? Why do the character models look like that? Anyways, today we'll be talking about, in my opinion, one of the more underwhelming games in the Dragon Ball franchise. Dragon Ball Revenge of King Piccolo.
Boy, this is getting exciting!
No, it's not. Dragon Ball Revenge of King Piccolo was released in the US on October 20th, 2009 and developed by Bandai Namco. Dragon Ball Revenge of King Piccolo would be the first Dragon Ball game that would be a Wii exclusive, as the game is about a young Goku as he goes on an adventure to stop the Red Ribbon Army and King Piccolo from collecting the Dragon Balls and taking over the world. This game isn't like any other Dragon Ball games that have been coming out recently, as this is an arcade-style beat-em-up and a platformer. In adventure mode, there are 9 stages where you have to go from point A to point B, as you will run, jump, and take down various enemies and bosses using the remote and nunchuck. Goku only has simple melee attacks, ki blasts, and of course, the Kamehameha. There is also a lock-on system which allows Goku to deliver powerful attacks or grab a device to cross certain locations throughout the stages. Once you defeat enemies, you can earn health, power-ups, or zenny that you can use for the shop where you can buy upgrades, music, and movies. Then you have a multiplayer tournament mode where you can play as one of the fighters from adventure mode, as there are only 17 playable characters to choose from, and then face a random fighter for each round. Dragon Ball Revenge of King Piccolo overall is just an okay game, as it received mixed reviews with a dual combat system. This game mostly focused on being a platformer rather than being a fighting game like other Dragon Ball games. But if you're a fan of platformers, try this game out. But even then, there's a lot more better platforms out there with a lot more effort made into the game. There are way better Dragon Ball games you can be playing rather than this one, with a lot more fighting, a lot more characters, and better adventure modes. Like as I mentioned earlier, like Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, so far I'm having a great time playing, unlike this game, as it gets boring after a while. No wonder this game is so forgotten. I understand this is a kid's game, as Dragon Ball Revenge of King Piccolo is rated E for everyone, but being a kid growing up playing this game, I wasn't having fun, and part of that reason could have been because I wasn't good at the game to begin with. And growing up playing Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, I just wanted a similar Dragon Ball game that shared the same excitement, and Dragon Ball Revenge of King Piccolo failed to deliver for me. But that's all the time I got. What game will I cover next? Find out on the next episode of Forgotten Games.
Are you sick and tired of not knowing enough about life's trickiest questions and need answers now? Well, introducing Now You Know, your place to learn everything about anything with our host, the studious Alexander Snodderly.
You can count on me.
And if you call now, we'll even include our co-host, Katie Bird, as she talks one-on-one with viewers like you. Thanks, Katie Bird. Catch us Wednesdays at noon on KNWT TV.
Now you know! Evan, you know what kind of animal I just don't like?
Gophers. You know where I see them most of all? Minnesota.
You know what color they usually are?
Golden. You know what? And there's only 2 days that I really see them. Saturday to Sunday.
Hello everyone, my name's Kendall, and welcome back to another episode of Saturday to Sunday, the show where we follow Dale Doback, a senior quarterback at the University of Oregon, as he plays through his final year of college football. A quick jump to look at the rankings, where we're still sitting number 1 with a 4-0 record, and sliding over to the Heisman race to show that I'm still leading that as well. This week, I was also given Big Ten Player of the Week for my performance against Utah State. This week, we're hitting the road once again and heading to Minneapolis, Minnesota to take on the 2-1 Minnesota Golden Gophers in a Big Ten conference matchup. Minnesota was able to put 3 points up on the board with their opening drive. Due to my poor decision making, the lead very easily could have been extended as I tried to force a pass to my receiver, which resulted in an interception. After a scoreless first quarter by our offense, we were able to work the ball down the field and set up on their 4-yard line. The play that was called was in a mesh concept, which has the 2 inside receivers running drag routes to set natural picks for one another. By doing this, it helps free up a receiver. My tight end was able to get open on his route, and I hit him for a touchdown. On this play before the 2-minute warning, I noticed they had the slot cornerback pressed and rolled up closer to the defensive end than normal. I shifted the running back over to give me a little extra time to throw in case he came on a blitz as we were running a play that had deep routes. Fortunately, he wasn't sent and I was able to hit my outside receiver for a 77-yard touchdown to go up 14-3. On our first play out of halftime, we knew we wanted to add to the lead. Coming up to the line, we had a play called with a flood concept. A flood concept is just having multiple receivers running routes in the same direction. On this play, the tight end is running a drag, and my middle receiver off to the left is running a 12 to 15 yard out. The closest receiver to me on the left runs a post across the middle of the field, taking the safety away from the go route to give us a 75-yard touchdown to open up the half. This is another example of a flood concept. The running back and closest receiver to my right are both running routes to the right side of the field, along with the receiver split out left. The safety has to drop to pick up the receiver closest to my right, which leaves the far outside receiver wide open over the top to add to our lead. After going up 28-3, I was able to pass for another touchdown to put us up 35-3, which also ended up being the final score as we were able to easily handle the Golden Gophers. I was given player of the game honors once again, throwing for 402 yards and 5 touchdowns on a 63% completion rate. We are on the road once again to take on the Indiana Hoosiers in another conference matchup. Hope to see you all next week.
Hey Evan, you ever seen that amazing game called Silent Hill? It's so much better than the movie.
Did you just say, okay, I've never even played this game, but the Silent Hill movie is goated.
What? I don't believe you.
Oh yeah? Okay, whatever. We gotta check this out on Respawn Cinema.
Hello, my name is Shelby Troxel, and you're watching Respawn Cinema, a show where we dive into movies and TV shows that are based off of video games. Today we're going to look at Silent Hill. Now, hear me out, it's a game about a hill that's silent. I'm just kidding. Silent Hill was a game made by Konami back in 1999. Wait, this came out before I was born? Games existed back then? I'm just kidding, I know there was games made before the 2000s. Anyways, back to the game. Silent Hill is a survivor horror game set in New England in a town called, hear me out, Silent Hill. Crazy, I know. Now onto the movie side of things. We follow the storyline of Rose Da Silva also searching for her daughter in a crash.
Coincidence? I think not.
Well, it seems like the same story, right? Well, not really. While the movie has the name Silent Hill, it is not a one-to-one replica of the first game. Comparing the game story and the movie story, they're very much the same, but also very different. In the game and the movie, Harry and Rose are looking for their daughter, eventually seeing her, and then being led on a goose chase down to an alleyway, giving us a little clue on the whereabouts of their daughter. The first clue of the game to get to Midwich Elementary School is a man that's actually chained up saying to school, while in the movie it's a picture of the school with her daughter on it saying to school. This is one of the many main differences between the game and the movie. Both Harry and Rose are actually locked in a bathroom with a guy chained up to one of the stalls with clues in and around. Harry, after seeing this, just passes out, while as in the movie, Rose is actually trapped in there and starts being chased by humanoid figures, eventually falling from a fence that broke down on the ground. Eventually she looks up and we see a very well-known character in the Silent Hill franchise, Pyramid Head. And you may be wondering, well, I thought Pyramid Head wasn't introduced in the first game yet. You'd be correct. We actually don't see Pyramid Head in the first game. All we see is Harry pass out and wake up in a different area. Pyramid Head isn't introduced until 2001 in Silent Hill 2. I feel like I'm missing someone important to the story. Oh right, Officer Silk Bonnet. She is one of the few characters that's actually the same between the movie and the game. Introduction to this character varies. In the game, there's no clear-cut ending, and depending on your actions previously chosen, like saving Sybil, can drastically change your ending. But the ending most like the movie is the one where you don't save Sybil and you don't complete any other side missions. After fighting the merge Alyssa and Cheryl, known as the Incubator, they end up thanking Harry by saying goodbye. But this oh-so-sweet moment is interrupted by us going back to the car crash, looking at Harry with blood down his face, leading us to believe that all the actions taken in Silent Hill are actually just part of his imagination, and the last few minutes of his life he's spent looking for his daughter in his imagination.
Hey, Cabe.
Oh, what's up, man?
I learned that one from Freyna, Descendants 101.
살고 싶어. 그럼 내 말 잘.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Descendant 101. In the last episode, I said things were going to start picking up now that we're getting into the characters I almost always use. And today's Descendant is no exception. Arguably, with a recent rework, she's become the best character to use in anything. And she's become my go-to when you have a sea of enemies standing between you and your objective. Today, we're looking at Viper's long-lost sister, the toxic death dealer, Freyna. Freyna's gameplay is fairly simple. Cover the ground and as many enemies as possible in her toxin. If you watched the episode about Bunny, you'd know she held the crown for the best crowd controller, quote-unquote.
Double kill, triple kill, overkill.
That statement doesn't hold any weight anymore.
Killing spree.
And it's as simple as using one ability. Only one could cause a chain reaction on this scale. Just a few days ago, Freyna could barely kill a boss on hard difficulty. So, let's get into the bread and butter of Freyna's abilities. Normally, I would start with her first ability, but I feel it would be easier to describe her passive first, as it plays into every single one of her abilities and her gameplay loop. Freyna's passive is called Room Zero Trauma, a deadly poison that does continuous tick damage against enemies and spawns a toxic puddle at the spot of their death. Any enemy that steps in that puddle will also get afflicted by the poison. All of Freyna's abilities have this, so just remember that going forward. Her first actual ability is called Venom Trauma. Freyna will throw a small vial of poison that breaks upon impact and spawns a deadly puddle of toxin on any surface. Floor, ceiling, or the wall. So indoors, or in a cave or tight spaces, she's incredibly deadly. Her second is called Defense Mechanism. When activated, Freyna's body is covered in toxin that applies Room Zero Trauma to any enemy that hits her, as well as coats your weapon's bullets in toxic damage. Her third ability, called Putrid Venom, is very similar to her first one. It has a bigger area of effect and stays on the ground longer, however it does slightly less damage and can only be applied on the ground. And her last is Venom Baptism, or more commonly known as a poisonous Tommy gun. With this ability, Freyna temporarily gets a unique weapon for a short time. Any enemy hit by its bullets will be infected by her passive, and does massive damage to more powerful enemies such as bosses. I was one of those people who liked Freyna before they tweaked her up, but couldn't use her enough because her old structure just didn't work as well. Overnight, she instantly became one of my favorite characters to use in bosses, invasions, dungeons, anything. Freyna is useful everywhere, and the game basically gives her to you, so there's no excuse to not get her. Next week, it's Halloween, probably my favorite time of the year, so I can't think of any better time to talk about my personal favorite Descendant in the game. But buckle up, because things are going to get a little more complex going forward. This has been Zach on Gentoo, signing off.
And that's about all we have for Gentoo this week.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below.
Wait, so you're going to host Gentoo forever?
Of course I am. The Senate elected me to be host of Gentoo.
The Senate?
Yes, the Gentoo Galactic Senate.
Wait, this seems very familiar.
Did I ever tell you the story of Darth Garrett the Wise?
No.
Thought not. It's not a story the producers would have taught you.
That's what it is. You're Palpatine. Okay, buddy. You're under arrest.
On whose orders?
On behalf of the Gentoo Galactic Senate.
I am Gentoo! I love Gentoo.